Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Sports Mecca. Alongside Cory Standing, I'm Jake Harrod. Cory, it's springtime. It's officially springtime, so you got to think about some spring cleaning, right? Well, Tennessee baseball had the brooms out this weekend.
That they did.
At home against Alabama, going for the sweep. We're able to get it done. Let's dip into this action here a little bit. Friday night game, great game all the way down to the end. Freshman Evan Russell up to plate. Actually has a walk-off walk to win the game. Ironically enough, that happened game 2 on Sunday in the first of the doubleheader they had on Sunday. Cory, I mean, what was your big takeaway from here as we're watching a little bit of this action?
Well, what a coincidence, right? 2 walk-off in one weekend. But at the same time, this team is really starting to impress me. Vitello, I loved him coming in. He was a great recruiter. He's proven to be a good head coach. Think of this. They're 16-9. They're the youngest Power 5 team in the country with a new head coach, and they're 7 games above 500. That's impressive in itself.
Yes, it is. I mean, this has been a surprise for Tennessee fans because baseball program, they've struggled. I mean,
they have.
Last year they were 27-25.
Losing Serrano.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a new roster, but you were not expecting this kind of a turnover and this kind of success. I mean, Andre Lipsy is here as you see him rip one off the wall into deep center field. I mean, he has just been a stud all season long and really continues to be the leader on this team. There's a lot of games left. You know, how do you think they're going to perform by the time the SEC championship comes around? Because this was their first SEC series of the weekend.
Well, you got to think about it. Conference play is where always games tighten up.
Yeah.
In the SEC, any team can beat you on any given night. They've proven it in every single sport: football, basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball. That's going to be the thing. How can this team respond to adversity? How are these young players going to deal with that? They got Vitello to lean on, who has experience in this league. He's done this for a long time. But you got to really see, you got to be thrown into the fire before you can really know how you're going to respond, as the Tennessee Vols basketball team learned this year.
That's true. This has been a huge start to the season for Tennessee baseball. They're 4-2 right now in SEC play. That's the best record they've had to start the SEC play since 2008. And on Sunday, the pitching staff was huge. I mean, having 2 guys throw a complete game in both of those games, there were only 7 innings, but still to have 2 guys go the distance and, you know, be dominant, basically. I mean, first game on Sunday, they won 2-1. Second game, 3-0. I mean, throw a complete game shutout, that is just dominating.
Allowing just 1 run in in 2 conference games, that is very impressive in itself. And like you said, that is dominant. The only 7 innings, this isn't the majors. They don't play 9. But in itself, this is impressive. This is a team that's really caught my eye, and they're going to be someone you're going to have to keep your eye on for the rest of the season.
I think so as well. Now, it's spring, so it's football time again in Tennessee. Got some changes.
Best time of the year.
Oh, yeah. I got some changes for Tennessee, obviously new head coach. But we've got some guys switching positions as well. Tyler Bird and Carlin Philzami headlining that. They're both switching from offense over to defense. What do you think sparked that for Pruitt?
I'll tell you what sparked that for Pruitt. Tyler Bird, in terms of him, he was an All-American DB at Naples High School. He was an Under Armour All-American. This guy had 3 receptions for 27 yards and just 1 touchdown last season. That's not getting it done as a wide receiver, and that's not to knock him. He's still got great footwork. He's got great ability on the football field. He was just not comfortable in this position. He's comfortable as a DB. I've seen his statistics. I've watched him play it. I've watched his high school tape at Naples. He is much more comfortable in that role, and I think he'll thrive in it going forward, especially under a guy like Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Bird is extremely athletic, so I think this is just one of those things where you got to get your athletes on the field, your best athletes on the field any way possible.
His footwork's incredible.
Yeah, it definitely is. And another guy that switched positions, Princeton Font, he was a freshman last year, redshirted at wide receiver, making the switch over to running back. He's going to be a big running back, 6'3", kind of a not normal frame, I guess you could say, for a running back. I mean, you could say Derrick Henry of Alabama, but that's not it doesn't happen all the time.
Right, it doesn't happen all the time. But here you think the SEC, this is power. This is old school football. They run and grind it. We've seen it for years. Alabama, who's won how many of the last championships?
I mean, it's ridiculous.
This is the SEC does. 5 of the last 9 championships, my bad, but at the same time, this is how the SEC plays football. They don't throw it all the time.
Yeah.
As much as people want to be the pretty boy offenses like the NFL, this is old school football, and this will definitely fit going forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Tennessee had that big back in the past couple of years with Jalen Hurd, but you know, I just don't really think he fit the system that Butch had installed, and I think that this new pro style offense will benefit of running back the size of Font, and I think that'll just really be good for him. Now, quarterback-wise, we only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster right now, Garantano and Will McBride. Keller Chris is coming in June. That's definitely got to be up for grabs for everybody. I mean, my opinion, I think Chris will wind up fitting that pro-style offense better and wind up being the starter. But, I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I got to say, it's the same narrative that we had last spring. You're going in, we have no certainty who's going to be the starter. Last year it was Dormady, Garantano. This year Garantano's probably the front runner at this moment. But with Keller Chris coming in, with having that repertoire in a pro-style offense, I think he was the number 3 pro-style quarterback just in 2014. He could definitely – he's not going to transfer here if he doesn't have a chance to play. So that's one thing you got to take into account when you discuss something like this. Garantano, McBride still have plenty of time left. They may not see the field as much this year, but I don't think it'll hurt their egos as much as it did Quentin Dormady, who is now transferred away from the program. Yeah,
I agree with you. And the fact that he has been able to get it done on the collegiate level already. I mean, yes, he did have Christian McCaffrey and Bryce Love, in the past couple of years, but he was 11-2 as a starter, threw for almost 2,000 yards, and I think he's 11-2 in the touchdown interception ratio. So I think that he is going to be, kind of the rock that this offensive unit needs. And new offensive coordinator, I'm losing his first name, but Helton, he's stressing the fact that they want to be able to push the ball downfield and throw the ball and kind of have that wow factor for the fans. Are they going to catch it or are they not? They want to be able to be an explosive offense. I think that's going to help them
And the
out.
wide receivers will play a big part in that. Last year, the only guy you could really key in on was Marquez Callaway. You had Bird, who was struggling on the outside. You lost Juwan Jennings in the first game, and you had Josh Smith, who was struggling at times. But now you got a group that includes Callaway, Jacquez Jones could be doing stuff in the slot. Juwan Jennings will be back, although he probably won't be suiting up in pads until around August due to that cleanup knee surgery he just had. But at the same time, like I said, you get a quarterback that can get these guys the ball. If they stay healthy, you have more than one target to throw to, and that leaves opposing defenses guessing unless they're just keying in on Callaway, which is what they did last year.
Yeah, I'm excited about this wide receiver group in whole. I mean, like you said, Juwan Jennings coming back. He's probably the leader of the team and arguably the best player on the field they have.
Yeah.
Marquez Callaway was a beast early on in the year, but he had those double teams. And Alontae Taylor, I'm really excited about seeing him. He's a playmaker, and I just think that this is some of the best talent that Tennessee's had at receiver in the past couple of years. And Joshua Palmer's a guy you got to throw in that mix as well.
Oh, you have to throw him into that mix. You accidentally cannot bring up a wide receiver group and not bring him up. And then let's move on to the defense, though. That's where Jeremy Pruitt's named his name. They're switching to a 3-4 style defense. You don't have no Khalil McKenzie anymore. Nope. You don't have Quay Piku. But what do you make of this group? You got a ton of versatile defensive backs. What do you think about this group going forward?
There's a lot of talent on this defense, and I think, the switch with Bird and Fields and me, I think that just adds to it. The defensive backs, though, that is a big question mark for me. I think pretty much I think most of the positions on the defensive side are up for grabs. But secondary is huge. I mean, Todd Kittle Jr., he's probably going to have to earn his spot back. I mean, he was out basically the whole year last year. I know he's a fan favorite, but he's still got to get it done in practice and prove that he deserves his spot back.
And what about Nigel Warrior, Micah Abernathy? I mean, Malik Gray, you have all these guys that are going to have to earn their playing time. And like I said, they have all the athleticism, they have all the skill in the world, but you have to be able to synchronize as a unit to play defense and stop opposing offenses like Alabama. You even throw Florida into that conversation. The SEC is a talented football. It's always been a talented football conference. There's no denying that. But at the same time, this defense is going to be, I think Pruitt was a great fit for this defense to mesh under this unit. Coming from Alabama as a defensive coordinator, there's no better fit, and I think that they'll make strides this season.
Yeah, and Pruitt is, bringing in a new defense as well, and I think another key point to look at is that front seven, that defensive line in particular. I mean, you
can't succeed without getting to the quarterback.
Exactly.
You have to make them tap dance.
I think Emmett Gooden's going to be one of those guys who fills up that nose tackle spot that is vital on a 3-4 defense. I mean, you got to have a guy who can just sit there and go at it with the centers and the guards and just eat up blocks, basically.
You need guys like, say in the NFL, you take a Brandon Williams, a Haloti Ngata. You got to have guys like that can cog that middle to allow the outside linebackers to get to the quarterbacks and beat their. Vince Wilfork. You said it perfectly. You got to allow the James Harrisons of the world, people like that, to get to the quarterback.
And I like how Pruitt he's a defensive-focused guy, and he's going to stick to that during practice. He's going to be with the defense. He's going to continue to be in their ears basically the whole time. And then outside of the practice field, in the classroom, in the film room, so to speak, he's going to be with offensive guys most of the time. I like how he's going to let them do their thing in practice, but he's still going to have a say in what's going on and know what's going on just from all the film study that they will do together.
Exactly. He's implementing his system. This is his program. He's made that clear from the get-go. He's treating it like that as such. He's acted the way he acts with the media.
Yep.
His 5 answer words are way more interesting than Butch's cliches were at
Yeah,
the same time. But yes, Pruitt's implemented his system already. Everyone's already noticed a big change in the way that they run practices.
Yeah,
and like I said, going forward, this is a much more intriguing than 2017. I tell you that.
I agree. That's what I was going to get on. Pruitt is a big believer in constant movement. Says nobody's going to be standing around at practice, and everybody's going to be getting the same amount of reps every single day. So I think that's huge. He's really focusing on development out of his players and just getting the best from them in general, I guess.
That's not something you saw a lot with Butch. I went to spring practice one time, and you had a lot of players standing around in lines, talking to each other in groups, taking their helmets off, swigging Gatorade. You're not going to have that when you have someone who's trying to compete for an SEC title, maybe a national title down the road. He has that experience. He was coached under Nick Saban, who's arguably one of the greatest coaches in college football history. So it's going to be intriguing moving forward, and I'm definitely excited for the season to start. Orange and white game is going to be interesting as well.
Yeah, it is.